Welcome to another edition of Digital Marketing 101. I'm Solomon Timothy. Today's question is, if I double my marketing budget, will I see double the results? Let's get started. So in order to break this down, what I really want to do is let's figure out what do we mean by results, right? When you're doing digital marketing campaigns, is it cost of leads, the number of leads that you're getting? Is it booked appointments? Is it actually sales? I'm going to assume that it's not sales just because you can't really track all the way down to sales from a digital marketing campaign. That sometimes happens offline in a phone call, maybe proposals, maybe you have 6 to 8 month sales cycle. So you can't quite measure in dollars, but although you should, in my opinion. But in this case, I'm assuming you're talking about the things that can be measured inside the ad platforms themselves. The number of leads, the number of qualified appointments, and maybe even down to an opportunity. So if you were to increase the marketing budget, can you see an exact same incremental results? That is the question. So I'm going to say in theory, it sounds absolutely possible. In theory, if you had $1, right, in ad budget, and if it produced $2 in results, well, what if you put $2 in ad budget? Can it produce $4? That's basically what the question is asking. In theory, it absolutely is possible. First of all, we got to qualify what we mean by results, and assuming that this is a lead question. This is how much I put in. I put in $10,000 in ad spend and we get 200 qualified leads. So if we put $20,000 in ad spend, can you make it 400 qualified leads? If you were to ask me that and we were running the campaign, and if we're planning on doubling the budget, I would say there's a couple things that we need to really look at before we can expect double the results. First and foremost, are there enough impressions that we can buy for the keywords that we're looking for, right? Are there enough people looking in my market, whether tied to a specific location, maybe it's the whole entire country? Is there enough people that we can actually serve the ads? Now, if your size of that market is already capped out, let's say you have 100% of the impression share of every searches that you get. Imagine if that was a possibility and you did do that. And the answer is no. You will not be able to double the number of leads just because you've increased the budget. In other cases, like e-commerce, we run a lot of e-commerce campaign, you could technically be able to see this type of information. If you double the number of qualified visitors to your website, can you see a significant increase in sale if it has almost to the same percentage of growth? It's very possible, but in a B2B environment, it's very unlikely, right? So if you're actually measuring sales, then it's completely dependent on the sales process, the salesperson's follow through, the ability to actually make that deal happen. So first we got to take sales numbers, dollars off the table. Let's look at leads, right? Can we actually achieve the same amount of leads? If we take a $10,000 ad budget and double it to $20,000, can we get the same amount of leads? The answer is quite possibly yes, if the market actually exists. Now, if it doesn't exist, many times what we have to do is we actually have to create demand generation campaigns. Now, let's break that down a little bit. What is demand generation campaign? So I'm just drawing you a quick funnel here. Many times this question is coming from somebody who is measuring only bottom of funnel. So they're only looking at the amount spent against the amount of leads received. That's what they're measuring. But in my case, if I wanted to 2x this, what is actually happening is somebody has heard of my brand, they reached out to us, they filled out a form, watched a webinar, and that's typically what leads to a lead, in my opinion. That's typically what happens. The buyer's journey is them looking for a solution, looking for an answer to their problem. They Googled it, they searched it, they contacted whoever they can, and then they actually come across your brand, they clicked on the ad, maybe they clicked on your blog post, they clicked on whatever it is that you're doing, and then they read the article, decided to reach out. That's the lead aspect, right? So if you actually were to increase your budget, you may actually have to do is the majority of your budget is going to go into top of funnel. It may not go into bottom of funnel because you have to generate significantly more demand in order to generate twice as much results. So if you wanted to generate 200 leads from 100 leads, you may not have enough people in your pipeline to double that. So in my opinion, what is going to have to do is you may have to spend 300% here, generate a much higher, generate significantly more people in your audience list who then you could retarget to and then bring them down into your funnel and then convert, and this becomes 2x. So a lot of times in theory, this might sound good until you could keep putting more money into it and you'll start seeing diminishing returns, right? You're not actually seeing the same 1-to-1 ratio. Hey, every time I put in $100, I need to generate 200 in results. But what I recommend marketers to do is not to think like that. It's actually a bad way of thinking. You should be thinking more of, hey, how much awareness can I bring about my product, my service? How much demand can I create for the solution that I'm actually bringing to the marketplace? And how do I capture that? And how much do I have to spend to capture that? So typically, this involves things like maybe creating a blog, right? And consistently providing content to your audience. Then you might need to then turn into creating podcasts, right? Then you might turn into something like this, create video content. Then you might turn into something like, hey, take this content, let's put it on social media, let's put it on my LinkedIn channel, put it on Instagram, put it on anywhere else where my audience can consume it. So when you add all that cost, it might be significantly more than what you're doing today. Think about that, right? The cost of creating content, the cost of creating video, production cost in video or audio, then you have to actually publish it, optimize it, and create tons and tons of awareness. But what actually you're doing is you're actually planting the seeds to build much more audience. Or you're planting the seeds for much more of demand generation, right? This is what we call creating the demand before you can capture the demand. So once you're doing that, you're spending more money, of course, but you're actually planting the seeds. So before you can have the harvest, right, you gotta have the ability to go ahead and put all the seeds everywhere you need to go in the so-called market, right? So you're doing that, and then simply and surely you will be able to increase the number of leads that you're getting. Now, you might not just get double, you might get triple, quadruple, depending on how well you've done that demand generation part. Does that make sense? So it's not just about putting in $100 more. You may actually have to put $1,000 more, but the way that you get your results may not be exactly in correlation to the amount that you put in, but it might be significantly more. Now, let me give you another example. Every piece of content that you put out there doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna get the results next week. Maybe it's a year later. So if you're consistently putting out good content, if you're consistently doing the advertising, if you're consistently reaching out to people, you're consistently retargeting, you can actually expect exponential results over time. So today you might be at, hey, I get 25 qualified leads. What do I gotta do to make it 50? So should I just double my budget, or do I do twice as many blogs? The answer is it doesn't necessarily directly correlate to just more activity, right? To get the achievement that you're looking for, you're gonna have to actually do significantly more, completely revamp the amount of content, the amount of information that you're putting out there, and that would start to trickle in the demand that you're literally looking for in your organization. A lot of times when you're an amateur marketer, what you do is you kind of start doing assumptions, right? Like if you buy $100 worth of Apple stock, or you had $1,000 of Apple stock, when the stock moves 10% up, I'm going to get the same percentage back. When you think about concepts like marketing, very, very broad topic, how do I actually invest more money in my marketing to get twice as much results? It doesn't always mean more AdWords dollars. It doesn't always mean more blogs or revamping the website to get more results. It's actually much more complicated. So if you're a B2B organization, you may actually have to start backwards. How many leads does it take for your sales team to reach the goals? So let's say your sales team needs 100 qualified leads at the end of the day. You're sitting at 25. It may not be a direct correlation. So we'll just put some more money here in the middle, and you're gonna get 100. So I would work backwards. So if it's 100 leads that you need, that's qualified, that's ready to go. The decision maker is there. They've filled out the form. They've actually been to your webinar or whatever else you want them to do. Then you gotta work backwards. How many of them do you need per day? And where are you currently getting that from? Can you scale those channels? So if you're currently getting them from, say, organic search, can you scale that? Maybe you're getting them from paid search, can you scale that? Maybe you're getting them from LinkedIn ads, can you scale that? Look at it in every single sort of channels and say, hey, can I scale those channels where I'm getting qualified leads, and then see if that actually gets to where I'm trying to go. Many, many times, in my opinion, what we've done for most every organization we work with is look at, to get to the growth that we're looking for, how much leads, or how many leads, how many booked appointments, how many actual events that have to happen. So if it's booked appointments, this is what we need. If it's marketing qualified leads, that's what it is. If it's sales qualified leads, that's what we need. And then work backwards. So if you do maybe 100 and you say, hey man, we have 2% conversion rate. Well, how many visitors do we need to generate? What's our conversion rate on our paid traffic? Not just conversion rate, qualified conversion, right? So you want to know, maybe it's 1%. maybe all the leads, 1% of them actually are qualified. So then how much more traffic do I need to drive on the front end to be able to achieve that? Is it possible to double results? It's absolutely possible. It's not as simple as just throw some money at it and see if it can double it. In fact, I would highly recommend you work with someone who actually can do some of these mathematics with you, some calculation, some ROI projection, and to figure out where do we need to dial in order to get the results that you're looking for. It's not impossible. It's absolutely possible. It's not just to double it. You could quadruple it. You're going to do 1,600% in 1 year, but you need to really apply some growth marketing techniques to your lead gen strategies to be able to do that, right? So I hope this video has been absolutely useful for you, because so many people have questions like this. I'm spending 5K, should I spend 10K and double my business? You should spend more money, because obviously if you're spending more, you're going to be competing with bigger players, maybe beat the competitors that you have. That's not a bad idea. If you're interested in growth, you should invest more. But to actually double the results, it's a little bit more complicated depending on the organization that you have. You're not as simple as e-commerce. You're not like Amazon, put more money in, more people see my ad, more people buy it. It's not necessarily the same way. Instead, you need to build awareness, right? You got to get more people to your solutions page, have them convert into a lead, nurture that lead, and actually have them make that decision, an informed decision, to find out if they're the right kind of fit for you, and vice versa. Are you the right fit for that customer? It's a little bit more complex. In my opinion, you have to scale all three sides of that funnel, right? You need to scale the bottom, where your salespeople, the sales interaction is happening. You want to scale the middle part, the nurturing, and all the things that you have in place to make sure leads don't fall through the crack. And then very, very top is the awareness, the stuff that I talked about with creating content and building awareness. That has to scale significantly more to drive the quality leads down that sales funnel. So hopefully this video has been useful. If you like this content, click that like button, guys. Click that subscribe button. Leave me a comment. Tell me exactly how you see this work in your organization. Can you actually put more money in? Is it that easy, right? Some people come and tell me, hey, Salman, I got the fire going. All I need to do is put more oil in it. It's great to think like that. You can absolutely do that. It is absolutely possible. I'd love to hear your comments, and I will see you next time.